hoping to do this yesterday, but I didn't have the time. Hi, Necessary. Thanks for visiting. This is going to be probably just very short and sweet, and we'll still be doing the show tonight, okay? But I wanted to get this on record because we've been talking about America and China for a long time. Like, if I had like infinite amounts of time and amazing softwares and all that kind of stuff, I would research other major entities, like, let's just call it the nefarious axis. In other words, China, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and plus all the secondary cultures that have very high degrees of tyranny, absolute dictatorship, and a propensity for violence. But that's a whole other thing. I would have to research it a lot more than I'm doing right now, and I'm just talking about it in causal ways on the channel anyway, like we do every time I do a Sunday night show. I do kind of a world overview. The thing is, for me personally right now, we've got a Leo new moon, just happened literally moments ago. So that's new starts and new beginnings for everybody. Depending on where that Leo new moon lands in your personal chart. I just wanted to say thank you also to Diana for booking a personal reading. Much appreciated. We'll schedule something this week. So anyway, I wanted to go over a few themes with the United States. This is doing very like deep dive stuff. Like, we see it on the world stage. We see it in our media, the propaganda channels, all the ABC, CBS, NBC, CNBC, MSNBC, and all the paper and media, Google, Meta, whatever they are, all those mainstream media groups, and all these basically unelected entities that actually have all the power and the money and the control that has been, let's say, harvested from we the people. And the groups I just described, use all that power and money and control to increase their ability to harvest more power and money and control. Even though the debt slaves of China, the debt slaves of America, the slave camps of China, and effectively what's going to come into being the slave camps of America, those populations are suffering in the very, very, very same way that cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys, and seafood suffer with industrial scale farming. There's no consideration for life or value or respect for the animals. They are literally there purely to be harvested. And I personally feel that's, even though I benefit accordingly because I enjoy my foods, I'm a white American and I have a lot of advantages. I feel like I'm a very lucky man, a very wealthy man, a very happy man, a very blessed man in my own way. I could hold a different perspective and attitude, but I choose those 4 tenets. Like people say, happiness is a choice. So anyway, let me share. Let's go over here. It's interesting right now. It's kind of interesting to go off of the world chart. This is a super hyper simplified America. July 4th, 1776. Sagittarius in the first house. Capricorn second. I should have probably written the names in. Let me just do that very quickly, okay? Just bear with me. Sagittarius over here. Capricorn over here. Aquarius over here. Pisces over here. There's lots of other things we could write in, but I just wanted to focus on these for now. If you look at things in a very, very simplified way, I'm not even putting the American astrology here. I'm not putting their astrology chart. I'm just using the extremely most simplified depiction that I can render that will allow at least a very primitive reference point to the United States relative to the monumental transits that we have right now and how they affect America. So, actually I should have written this one even bigger here. Okay. These are the two big ones that are causing immense upheaval, disruption, chaos, confusion across the whole world. And Uranus and Taurus over here. Let's mark that as well, okay? The sign of Taurus, okay? And this is the icon for Uranus, okay? Mercury's going to flip retrograde any minute now, so I'm just marking it retrograde. Thanks again to you, Necessary Truth, for reminding me. So, over here, let's just run through the basics and then we'll wrap it up. So over here, you can see Pluto is at the crisis point. 29 degrees, 29.5 degrees Capricorn, or 0 degrees Aquarius, depending on how you want to look at things. It's right here, right on the cusp, okay? So it's sort of like trying to understand how can we be this energy while we're coming into this energy? How can we come into this energy while gracefully leaving behind this energy? Over here, this was about an 18-year journey where Pluto has been transiting since around 2008. Now, focusing on the money. This is the money house. And this is the house of other people's money. I'm just going to put that up here. OPM. So, the United States is born with a very, very powerful Cancerian vibe up here. Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter up here. So the whole concept and the theme of other people's money, in other words, Wall Street, banking, the Federal Reserve Bank, global trade, global banking systems out here, where the world vests huge amounts, trillions and tens of trillions of dollars into the United States to make it a home. Think of Cancer as the home. So America is the home for big global money. Even for places like Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. I'm not sure about North Korea, but a lot of places that you would never imagine park their money in the United States because, like it or not, no matter how chaotic things are in the United States, it's still the most stable entity that we have. However, the global financial system has been destabilizing for the last 18 years. The shock wave initially hit here in 2008, and that was the time of the GFC, the Great Financial Crisis. The easiest way to describe it is just go watch two movies. One of them is called Margin Call. The other one is called The Big Short. Anyway, so in 2008, there was a major transition. Like with Pluto through Sagittarius, it was an extreme display of extreme optimism that went absolutely berserk, out of control, because that's what Pluto does. It just goes to the extremes, only to find out that you cannot perpetually increase the prices of everything and live off 0% interest rates forever. And so everything collapsed in Wall Street. Lehman Brothers collapsed, Bear Stearns collapsed and everything. And Obama wrote a check using taxpayer money to bail out Wall Street. $780 billion, which today is just, I don't know, it's pocket change in comparison to what's happening now. And so at that time, the United States Federal Reserve banking system figured out, wow, we got away with it. We, the Federal Reserve banking system, basically broke the whole thing down, stole all the money from the people, and now we are being bailed out by the people. We took all the profits and all the losses were absorbed by the people. Our game is working. So let's just keep going. Use the same game. A scam. So over the next 18 years, it started all over. A lot of people, let's say, suffered, but some people took advantage of the chaos and the crisis. Like the vulture capitalists came in and they bought up all the roadkill assets and became very wealthy. In the last 18 years, vast and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars were created out of thin air, basically decreasing the actual value of the dollar to where we are today, where we have now $35 trillion of completely unrepayable debt. And that's just the federal government, but it's much, much, much worse than that. So this is the second house of money for America. So when Pluto transits the second house of America for 18 years, you can follow it in the charts. And so it kind of went print, more money. Of course, a few bumps along the way. Print, more money. Increase the money supply, M2. And isn't it a coincidence that the S&P 500 tracks it? Correlation almost perfect. Same with the NASDAQ. Same with the Dow Jones Index. Is that a coincidence? No, it's actually part of the great plan. It's a machine designed to strip money out of we the people and put it into the hands of the global banking elites. Money goes from here to here. And it's made to look like they are doing all of us a favor, where in fact they are harvesting our energy, just like I described earlier, just like we are a cow, a pig, a chicken, a turkey, a salmon on the industrial farm for harvesting money. Only human beings are the actual creatures that are being harvested. I'm not going to go into the mechanism itself, but that's what happens. So our money goes over to here. And this is now, technically speaking, broke. And who's going to pay the bill? Oh, guess what? The American people. in the way of suffering, financial suffering, because what's happening is this globalized business model has been going on for about half of a Pluto cycle. Started roughly around here. Once 1913, when the United States Federal Reserve Bank was instituted, they took their scam to the limit where they are right now, and it's all imploding because they can't take the scam any further. They've basically harvested as much energy as they can out of the people without the actual debt cows, debt pigs, debt chickens, debt turkeys, debt salmon dying. They've harvested, the world of OPM, they have harvested pretty much everything. Your eyeballs, your horns, your skin, your bones, your labor, your sweat, your intelligence, your physical health, everything has been monetized, financialized, and extracted from you. Guess what? We're entering a time of revolution, because we the people, the community of the world, are sick of it. We figured it out because it's on full display. So over the next few years, we've been building up to this for 18 years, but it's now reaching the tumultuous crescendo, and that crescendo is going to resonate and vibrate for years. It's been building up since specifically January 2020. Hint, hint. And now it's going to have its ripple effects and spillover for many years to come. So Pluto is heading from here to here over the next 20 years. This is a 20-year journey through the third house of America. This is about basically community. It's like the community of we the people. Over here, this is the community, the 11th house. So it's like we the people. Think of this as third house Gemini energy. This is where everybody wants to do trade and commerce. And they don't want to do it on the normal scale, like, family farm to family farm, going to farmers markets, going to your local artisanal craft company business to buy and sell your goods and services, which goes in complete defiance of the massive corporate global banking cartel. So it's going to be a very long revolution, and the understanding of money that we know today, or that we've been dealing with for 120 years, is going to basically transform. Think of Pluto as the energy of transformation. Money is transforming. It's a battle. It's a war that is happening right now between tyranny and freedom, evil and good. It's that crude. People don't like being polarized into yes, no. You have to take a side, yes, no. If you want to choose ignorance or ambivalence, then you will suffer accordingly. So it's better to take a side. Evil versus good, tyranny versus freedom, and that's what's going to be the battleground over here. The tyrannical energy of money will be what we're seeing now, the implementation of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, copycatted from China, the Bank of International Settlements using its new Enbridge system to enforce central bank digital currencies across the world for we the people, in order to perpetuate this monstrosity, this evil machine. But there is an escape plan, because some very smart people have figured out this alternative system. Number one is obviously gold, or gold and silver. The other alternative is crypto. And the most simple, well-known crypto means secret, is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was designed to be irrefutable, pure. Very, very, very simple. The problem is it's hyper unstable and it's hyper new, because the elites, don't like Bitcoin in theory, because it represents truth, honesty, freedom, integrity. That's the worst thing that could happen to the elites. So it's a battle. More and more momentum is going to move towards the so-called type Bitcoin world, where it's going to turn into a globalized network. It'll be part of the reserve systems. It'll be part of global trade. It'll be part of people's retirement programs and everything like that, while the fiat fake money system gradually erodes. So we'll see how that journey turns out. The world has never been here before. This is cutting edge stuff, so it's a big, big question mark. I'm going to put a red question mark here. If you think of third house Gemini Mercury communications energy, then think of Bitcoin. The real value is that it's, number one, irrefutable. It's absolute. There's only 21 million of them made, and that's all there ever will be. And so as demand and supply fluctuates up and down, the price and the value of Bitcoin will inevitably go up and up and up and up and up. And eventually, once more and more people, entities, world, countries adopt it, it becomes a network itself, an actual payment network, a value system that is completely, let's say, flat. There is no overlord. There is no central bank digital system that turns the power upwards to the elites. It does the exact opposite. The Bitcoin network is going to go like this. That's a huge problem for the elites because it basically undercuts and undermines their whole system. In other words, they can't farm you. And it's going to be a war. Okay, it's going to take a long time for this to play out. Other cryptos will come and go, alternatives, and so on. But Bitcoin is the benchmark so far because it's the, what do they call it? First mover. It's the simplest. Even though it's very dirty when it comes to mining. So anyway, there's that. Next over here, let's move on out of Pluto. Let's go over to the third house, Pisces, the foundations of America. In its purest sense, it's about, I would say, divinity, God, heaven, love, compassion, empathy, goodness, inspiration, dream, the American dream, okay? So dreams are very, let's say, malleable. And right now the American dream has turned into an American nightmare for a lot of people. Neptune has been traversing here for the last, 14 years or so, and we are at the point of critical mass right here, the crisis point, and eventually next year it's going to creep into Aries, okay? But for now, we're dealing with this. In other words, the optical illusions, the delusions, the charades, the shenanigans that are used by the global elites are effectively themes of fraud, deception, betrayal, lies, bribery, corruption, sickness, disease, perversion, in order to affect their agenda. So in other words, at the 29-degree crisis point is the degree of desperation. The beauty of the founding of this amazing country has been perverted and corrupted and rotted in terms of mold. Think of it as black mold. If you think of this as the foundations of a house, of a household of America, what was once a beautiful thing is now being completely infected with the equivalent of black mold, fungus, rot, decay, and putrid stench of death and rot. Just like the smell of rotten meat, dead people, carcasses, and of course some people feed off that. But anyway, so that's the Neptune energy. It's very sad, it's very tragic, but we will come around and then we'll go on a 178-year journey and be here again. Right now, Saturn is also here. You can see it's been here for a couple of years. It's got another, a year and a half to go. So Saturn in the foundations of the house is basically being tested. The United States is being tested. Is the United States living up to its original decree, its original dream to honor God, love, creation, divinity as the foundation of this country? In other words, like they say in the Constitution, like the freedoms that we have been granted by God, not by Washington, not by Wall Street, but by God. And God trumps all of it. So the problem is that, again, the elites do not like God. As far as the elites are concerned, they are God. They are the gods. And it's being tested because in reality, love rules. Nature rules. And so Saturn in Pisces retrograde right here is basically like a shitstorm. In other words, anything and everything that can go wrong will go wrong. By the way, that applies to the Pluto and the Neptune because they're still retrograde. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And that's exactly what's happening. In other words, in the United States, all the fraud, deception, propaganda, betrayal, that lives at the very foundation of our infrastructure is being exposed and has exposed itself as completely hollow, fake, fraudulent, in an attempt to maintain this at the expense of we the people. So we are being tested. America is being tested, and it will continue. This Saturn-Neptune thing is going to get more and more ugly over the next year and a half. Eventually, Saturn is going to conjoin Neptune. Hi, Karen. Eventually, Saturn is going to conjoin Neptune. It's going to be right here on the cusp, and eventually right here at the 0 degree mark in Aries. So it's going to be ferocious, absolutely ferocious. And that is going to trigger in what, possibly some people feel is war. So perhaps civil war. Because this is the United States, okay? This is the 5th house of self-expression. Aries in the 5th house is very, very strongly convinced of its righteousness and its right and privilege to self-expression in terms of Aries energy. In other words, I am right. We the people are right, and we know it. And that right to be right, the right to be us in full freedom of expression, has been heavily, heavily undermined, corrupted, and Aries being the god of war, we're going to take it back. We're going to take it back. In other words, the elites up here and the propagandists and the purveyors of death, mold, fungus, disease. In other words, think of, bug number 19, bug number bird, a little bird bug, and so on, and all the evil entities that do that evil stuff to try and destroy this. This combined with this is enemy number 1 of the global elites. So their mission is to destroy this thing. Destroy this thing. So the only thing that remains is a chaotic, blood-soaked, chaotic mayhem. Hello, Victor. So allow for that. Taurus, Uranus in Taurus has been traversing here for 6 years or so. It's got another year and a half. It's about a 7-year journey. We're not quite at the crisis point yet, but it's been very tumultuous regarding the health of America. Very, very, very chaotic. All this is heavily linked, all these storylines are completely tied to each other. It's all about the money. This is an incredibly important part of the American chart. America was born with Pluto in Capricorn right here, opposed to Mercury in Cancer right here. It is a fierce, fierce, never-ending war between the little people, we the people, and our right to do day-to-day commerce between ourselves and each other, like farmers markets, local artisanal craftsmen, perhaps artisanal beer, artisanal shoemakers, artisanal flower growers, artisanal beef, pork, chicken, salmon, fish, artisanal construction, artisanal transportation, without the need for federal banking systems to intervene and override. In other words, we can all figure out a way to exchange. Remember, there was a time before 1913 where there was no central bank at all. People just traded between themselves and each other using whatever currency was appropriate at that time. What's wrong with that? The feds didn't like it. The feds figured out that there is enormous amounts of energy up here, beautiful, amazing energy, basically all concentrated in the home, the family. Cancer, cancer, cancer energy. Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter in America, born here. So the elites over here, the corporate, basically Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, the corporate cabal, figured out we have to take everything from them, put it back into here, keep it for ourselves, and convince the rest of the world that America is the home of other people's money, where it is in fact the home where they hide. They hide in America as though they are the most noble entity on earth. But what they're doing is they're infecting we the people. It's very, very successful. They've had an incredibly successful run since 1913. But people are starting to figure out and understand the scam. Next, over here, we've got Mercury retrograde coming in right now in Virgo, and it's going to go back into Leo over here. Right at the... again, remember, please, this is an extremely simplified chart. So the actual angles and degrees are not exact. If you used a Placidus chart and the Sibley chart for USA 1776, all these pie charts and things would be slightly different. I'm using what's called whole sign just to make the description easier to understand. So if you look at this, if you think of this little mark here, if you want to, you can consider this the midheaven, the pinnacle of expression, achievement, destiny, purpose, meaning on the global stage, to be an amazing, let's say, what's the best way to think of it? Basically, doing what has to be done in the world, in itself, as an entity, without expecting any reward or accolades above and beyond the pure joy of being wholesome, good, loving, caring, responsible people. And then living by example. Now remember, America is born with a Leo North Node. Mercury just traversed the Leo section of the 9th house up here, and what it did was it exposed all the, let's say, all the wonders of America, our ability to lead, but how it's all come apart. And as Mercury retrograde goes back into Leo for 10 days, we're going to have this for about 10 days, and then this for about 10 days. We're going to see how far away that the United States has fallen from its ability to be that shiny, bright, courageous, proud, highly integral leader with lots of wisdom and experience that it can share with the whole world, living by example. And we're seeing everything that's going to go wrong and has gone wrong and will go wrong. It's going to be on full display on the global media, global arena. Anything and everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So it's being exposed. Everything that is really crappy about the United States is being fully exposed right now. And eventually this will go retrograde. Then it'll go direct again, and Mercury will eventually go through Virgo here, opposing all of this energy. And we're going to see a massive attempt at cleaning up the filth and the squalor and the evil, the propaganda, the lies, the deception that is happening at the foundation of our country right now. If you want to, you can reinterpret that in terms of the political war that's happening in America right now. Again, distill it into tyranny versus freedom. Tyranny versus freedom. Evil versus good. It's that simple. People don't like it. People don't like being forced into a position where, like, it's that simple. It's one or the other. One of the beauties about the American political system is that it's deliberately designed to disempower anybody or any institution that has a desire for complete omnipotence, power, money, and control over we the people in order to become basically an emperor, a dictator, a tyrannical monster leader. The problem is that the corruption has gone so bad so far at the end of our 248-year Pluto cycle that it is now on full display at the degree of desperation that the United States is now looking at its own enemy within, and the enemy within is right here. It's right here. It's basically constituted by all the people who want to become part of the elite system that is a tyrannical, monstrous, evil dictatorship, to destroy this thing and suck all the life and beauty out of what was originally created. So, in classic Pluto fashion, there's going to be a very, very decisive war. How that war plays out, what it's going to look like, is it in the currency markets? Probably. Who knows? Civil war? What? We don't know. We already know that the energy of warfare and war is building up globally. You could trace it back to all sorts of historical lines and purposes and everything. But in terms of this little video here, you could say, oh, well, the United States started off as something amazing. It's had a very, very turbulent journey to become what it is in its fullest, most healthy expression. And some people, feel like they are disenfranchised, for example, like Native Americans, some of the black community, some of the Hispanic community, and others feel that, well, it's not quite right for some of us. On the other hand, if you look at the whole world, there are a lot of people who would love to be here rather than where they are right now. Because in the perspective of the whole world, there's several billions of people living under tyranny, evil, corruption, hyper-violence, betrayal, death, war, as their ruling system. It's different in America. Yes, we have a lot of power, money, and control, but it is designed to operate in such a way that the so-called leadership in Washington is divided in such a way that it's effectively impossible to become a tyrannical, monstrous dictatorship. In other words, we have the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. And they are all supposed to argue and dispute and negotiate between each other in order to reach a decision that's good for the people and good for the country. And you hear these sayings like, well, freedom's great, but you have to work for it. You have to keep fighting for it. Once it's been earned, it doesn't mean it's going to stay there forever. You have to perpetually maintain the freedom, just like you have to maintain a car. Otherwise, it just falls apart. Well, guess what's happened? The American people, the American government, have basically exploited the vehicle of the United States, the entity of the United States, especially for the elites, because they have so much power, money, control. It's built into the American psyche, into the American DNA, that there is a perpetual war between extremely bloodthirsty, powerful maniacs who want all the power, money, and control for themselves. And the only way they can do that is by taking it from we the people, where the actual wealth lives. So the war is going to continue, like in the global markets and things, in the global financial arena. I don't know what the details are going to be. All I wanted to do here with this little video is give people a reference point to the things I talk about a lot on the channel without ever having used a real reference point. This is not perfect, but it's a very simplified way of looking at things that allows me to tell a very simplified story. I don't know it all. I'm just conveying what I feel and what my intuition has sensed and what my common sense is telling me. We'll be going through a lot of upheaval. Okay, crisis point, incoming crisis point happening right now. These are the two big ones, tumultuous shifts, and Saturn, of course, right here. So maybe this little video will help you understand that everything is perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. And why is that so? It's because it can't be any other way. The USA is what it is, the way it is. It was born in a certain way with a certain characteristic. And this is the biggest problem right now, because there's a lot of other, let's say, I guess, regimes, entities that want the amazing things that we have enjoyed in America, but they do not want to honor these things or this thing. They want absolute power, money, control for themselves, and the problem is this is in the way. So you've probably seen it in storylines all over the world, Death to America, things like that. And those people don't know what they're saying or what they're doing. They think they're, I don't know, I don't understand it, because they want what we have, but they're not willing to do or be who we are, how we are in our best behavior to get all the good stuff that they want. I get kind of pissed off sometimes because I keep thinking, why don't all these communists and tyrants and people who believe in something that is not this, if you don't like this, if you live inside America and you don't like this, you don't honor this, you don't respect this, then go away. Go somewhere else that fits your belief systems. That's how I look at it. It sounds very rude, but I know. Anyway, I'm just going to check out here. Thank you for listening. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you find some value in this little video. It's a Leo new moon. There's going to be some very long, slow changes coming up ahead for myself on this channel. And it's starting probably tomorrow on the momentum of the Leo new moon. Creative self-expression. Leo energy. What's that going to look like down the road? Things are changing, whether we like it or not. You got to go with the flow, understand the currents. You know, when I do show people this stuff, this is basically like, you know, what people use in the, you know, in the ocean to navigate the seas. If you're in outer space, they use this to navigate their journey of their spacecraft and their satellites. If you're here as a person on Earth, you can use this to navigate your life. So you stay out of trouble and maybe have a different experience that might be better than what you had or have once you understand the ebb and flow of these energies. The planets are out there. They just do what they do. They don't mean bad to you. They don't mean good to you. They're just perpetually zooming round and round and round, and they have a geomagnetic influence on all of us. Whether we like it or know it or not, we're influenced. Anyway, please make the best of it. I'm going to just check out, okay, if you don't mind. And I hope to see you tonight, folks. Probably got room for maybe 2 mini readings. Do the donation. You know the routine.